Along the way, we have been seeing little flare-ups like this one. This wasn't here just a few minutes ago, and I'm told that a strong enough wind could pick up these embers and carry them up to a third of a mile. The sheriff has increased the number of homes destroyed to 511. The fire is believed to have been human-caused. Investigators are still working to determine exactly where and how it started. We talked to Westcott Fire Marshal Margot Humes. She's a certified fire investigator. She couldn't talk specifically about the Black Forest fire, but says the Forest Service team doing that investigation is well trained. The team will use special gear, flags, and even gardening rakes as they sift through the charred land. The area where we were today was where the very first homes burned in this fire. Sheriff Makita was saying that the first reports of the fire came in at about 1 o'clock on Tuesday, and those homes that we saw destroyed today were burning by about 4 or 5 o'clock. The very last stop on our tour was where investigators believe the fire started.
You're paying $1 million for people who don't work for you anymore. Nearly 30 city employees have left since Mayor Steve Bach took office in Colorado Springs.
Target 13 investigator Lindsay Watts spent the last several weeks trying to get answers from the mayor about these severance payouts. Tonight, she's tracking your tax dollars.
I was told that you won't do an interview with me on the subject. Can you tell me why? This is what happened when we asked Mayor Steve Bach, can you talk about the severance payouts to city employees? Mayor Bach, can you tell me why you won't do an interview on the subject? This after Target 13 was told by Bach's staff the mayor will not be doing an on-camera interview with regards to this subject. Since Bach took office 2 years ago, golden parachutes have been flying. City Attorney Pat Kelly got more than $96,000 in severance. Steve Cox, fire chief, then economic vitality chief, he got close to $93,000. More than $70,000 for the police chief, almost $60,000 for the budget manager. A police officer who resigned after being arrested got almost $22,000. That woman, Sydney Huffman, just pled guilty to lying about domestic violence. The grand total, when you include severance, health benefits, vacation payout, and sick payout, nearly $1.5 million. All this.
I think people worry that if we're not careful, it could appear as sort of hush money, that you pay people after they leave so that they don't talk about the circumstances.
On top of the severance packages, former airport director Mark Earl resigned, but the city is still paying him his full salary, more than $165,000. Same with fire chief Rich Brown, who retired and makes close to $150,000. They're consultants now and will be paid until the end of the year. The strong mayor has authority on those decisions.
This just may be an ongoing cost of the new form of government.
Jan Martin is the city's longest-serving council member. She's starting her 7th year.
In the last 2 years, we have watched hundreds of years of experience leave the city of Colorado Springs.
Martin says she and other council members approached Mayor Bach about the mass exodus.
He made it very clear to us that the hiring and firing of staff was really his responsibility.
Martin says what council does have the power to do is change personnel policy and put new limits on payouts.
Policy change needs to happen, and probably sooner than later.
Former council member Lisa Salatko says work on that policy was underway before the last election. She hopes the 6 new faces on council will keep at it. Can you tell me why you won't do an interview on the subject? We showed Salatko this video.
It disappoints me. You know, he's my mayor. This is my community. I mean, we have an obligation as elected officials to do it. It's that simple, whether you like the questions that are coming or not.
For now, we'll wait to see who's next to float away from Colorado Springs city government and just how much it will cost you. We first asked for an interview with Mayor Bach last month on April 24th. After being told there would be no sit-down interview, that's when we approached Bach before a town hall meeting, as you saw. Now, after commercials for this story started running, we got very short notice that Bach was available to talk. It was a rushed interview, just 10 minutes before he had to leave. Here's part of what he had to say.
For one man sifting through the remains of his home, emotions ran high. KRDO News Channel 13's Lindsay Watts was with him as he looked for anything.
I just don't think I'm awake yet, that's all. I can't believe it.
Daryl Fortner lived here off Black Forest Road for 20 years. He and his wife, Jenny.
Jenny said she didn't want anything to remind her of this.
But Fortner grabbed a shovel and a sifter, finding even flames burning 2,500 degrees didn't steal everything.
She loved anything with a cartoon on it.
Commonplace objects that hold years of memories. What did you use those for?
We'll make a lot of jelly and give to people. I like to make strawberry and apple jelly.
Fortner had small victories in the ashes,
A magnifying glass still works.
but many reminders of all that's gone, 2 decades worth.
There's a knife she gave me for Christmas.
The couple's greatest loss, their 9 cats and 4 German shepherds. Firefighters buried the dogs here, leaving a note on a tree.
I thought they're the greatest people in the world. To take the time out of their lives to do such a wonderful thing.
Fortner says he will rebuild with his wife, his memories, and those few mementos that survived along with them.
I don't know if she wants it, but I'm going to take it to her.
And another surprise for his wife.
That's for Jenny. I got a brand new kitty.
Fortner says despite all this, he feels lucky for what he has. In Black Forest,
She don't know it yet, but I'm getting her 2 more little bobtail kittens.
Lindsay Watts, KRDO News Channel 13.
I believe we have a live look at that fire that we can take you to now. There it is. That's Homestead Ranch Park. And we have learned that the fire is now out. It started around 5:30 this morning. It stayed small, burning just between 1 and 2 acres. Right now, the crews that you're seeing there are just in the mop-up stages. So good news this morning, that fire is safely out. From coast to coast, some people are dealing with extreme weather this morning. From scorching heat in the west to record rain in the east. ABC's Ginger Z gives us a look across the U.S. Makes you appreciate the calm weather here. That was Ginger Z reporting. New this morning, a man is waking up in the hospital. From there, he's headed to jail. Springs police say he jumped out of a window naked and started fighting with officers. That happened last night at the Arbor Point Apartments on Hancock Expressway. Officers say 21-year-old Brandon Evans wouldn't cooperate and they had to tase him and use a canine. They say Evans kicked an officer in the stomach as he was being carried to a police car. It's almost time for motorcycle riders to head out 130 miles. It's for the Pikes Peak Fallen Officers Memorial Ride. Our Dana Molina joins us from Outside Cowboys in downtown Colorado Springs with more. Dana? Thanks, Dana. Jury selection is set to start tomorrow for George Zimmerman's murder trial. Attorneys are still arguing over key issues. Zimmerman is accused of murdering 17-year-old Trayvon Martin in February of last year. Vigilante, wannabe cop, and self-appointed neighborhood watch captain are just some of the words that have been used to describe him. Zimmerman's lawyers are filing a motion to prevent the use of those words by the prosecution. Lawyers say those concepts can come off as inappropriate and prejudicial. Another issue prosecutors and lawyers are arguing over is whether jurors will hear testimony about a 911 call that will be critical to a verdict. ABC's Rob Nelson has much more on that. Now to new details this morning about a crane operator accused of causing a deadly building collapse in Philadelphia. Sean Benchop turned himself in yesterday. He faces 6 counts of involuntary manslaughter, among other charges. A law enforcement official said Benchop had marijuana and pain medication in his blood after the collapse. Benchop's attorney said he is not to blame. Benchop was allegedly working a crane to demolish a vacant building when a 4-story wall collapsed onto a Salvation Army store. 6 people died and 13 got hurt. A big crowd turned out this morning on Governor's Island in New York to watch the implosion of the island's largest building. Wow. 200 pounds of dynamite brought this 11-story brick building down in just seconds, as you saw. The structure, known as Building 877, was built in 1968 on the southern end of the island. It stood vacant since 1996. The city plans to use the space for a park. Several families in New York are waking up in emergency housing this morning. That's because their apartments were damaged when a retaining wall on a Manhattan building collapsed yesterday morning. Dozens of people were forced to leave their homes. Most have been allowed back now. No one was hurt. It was a rude awakening, though, for residents when this happened. The Red Cross is helping those displaced. Investigators are trying to figure out why the wall fell.